Guys. Give it a few more minutes for a couple of other people to show up. Start at about 2:05. Everybody, give it about 2-3 minutes so everybody else can show up. Yeah, and then I saw your message about what a bot can do. That shit was funny. All right, sweet. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here. Let me know if you guys can see the Word doc. Can you guys hear me, by the way? Mic check, mic check. You guys can hear me? All right, sweet, sweet. Awesome. All right, cool. So I've kind of gone over this before, but I feel like never hurts to go over this again. Trading rules. Okay, so trading plans / risk management rules. And so give me 1 second here. Okay, sorry about that, guys. All right. So I want to go over a couple rules, a couple things in regards to the trading plan, and then also go over a couple of key ways to think when it comes to trading, to help you guys grow as traders and to better deal with the emotions that arise when it comes to trading. I would say 99% of the issues that we deal with when it comes to trading is usually emotional, and not really anything that has to do with the technical aspects, but it's usually something that we do as far as decision making because of our emotions, which then leads to, whether or not we make money or we lose money. All right. So I think one of the first things that I always go through is position sizing, right? I think it's really, really important to be aware of position sizing and to know where you want to, or how many contracts that you're going to buy when it comes to every single trade. And this is something that you want to fix immediately. It's something that you have full control over, that at the end of the day, the market has no control over it, right? This is something that, as far as your decision, it's all on you. I can't tell you how many contracts to buy. At the end of the day, only you can press that button and buy however many contracts that you feel like is, good for that trade. But consistent position sizing is really important because it gives you an edge. Okay, at the end of the day, when it comes to trading, we don't know which trade is going to be the banger at the end of the day. Sometimes it might look like, what's the play looks so that darn good, and that one only goes 10%. And the play that doesn't really look that good ends up going 70 to 100%. So that's why we can consistently position size, because at the end of the day, it's not up to us to guess which play is the one that you go all in on or that you go heavier on, right? The more that we keep it random and based on probability, the better off we are. So that's why we have consistent position sizing. When it comes to consistent position sizing, it is very boring. Reason that it's boring is obviously it's more exciting to go all in and double your money real quick, right? I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I've been there before where that's what I wanted. That was what I was seeking, right? That was what I was actually looking for on a given day, like on Fridays, going heavy and essentially hit 0 days for 40, 50 to 100%, right? But sometimes that might work, but also when it doesn't work, right, we take a heavy, heavy hit when it comes to a loss, because on 0 days, you're probably going to lose 20 to 30% on that play in a matter of a couple, seconds. So consistent position sizing is really, really important. You also want to size accordingly to your account, right? Based on account size. All right. And then you also want to focus on following all of your trading rules. Okay. Um, at the end of the day, a lot of us don't have trading rules, right? When we start, we have an idea of what we want to do, but we don't have specifics written down. And here's the thing, if you don't have specifics written down, you're not going to be able to make a decision quickly. All right. What's going to happen is when push comes to shove and it's time to make a decision, you're going to wing it based on the way that you've essentially handled things in life, okay, in the past. And so what I mean by that is when things, push comes to shove with your trades, you start to feel emotions, you're going to react the way that you've always reacted in regards to those emotional situations. So when you feel threatened, if your reaction is to, freeze up, that's usually what, not usually, that's something that I would say in the beginning happened to me, right? I had this like tendency to freeze up in stressful situations, and it also kind of reflected when it came to my trading. And so I would freeze up and not know what to do, and then essentially kind of, be stuck in that trade. I don't know about you guys. I'm sure some of you guys have been there where you should have exited and somehow you just froze. You sat there and you watched it go minus 40%, right? And in our minds, we know, let's just take the minus 20%. At the end of the day, there's always another play, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, we're only human and we're going to make mistakes and we're going to react emotionally strictly based on the way that we are as human beings. So that's why some people have a really hard time selling. Some people sell at 20% without hesitation. It all really depends on their specific fight or flight reaction, based on stress, right, that appears. So you want to have your trading rules, guys, because if you do have your trading rules, you can very much easily see what action you have to take or what rules you have to follow in order for you to be profitable, even in the midst of you feeling emotional and wanting to make decisions on your own. For example, like let's say you're at minus 15% on a play and you see minus 16 and you see that it's not really going, so you decide, I'm just going to cut here even though your stop loss is minus 20%. You get out of the trade, you take a minus 16 and you feel good initially because you're like, okay, it's not a full 20% loss, so at least I feel good that, I saved a little bit of money. 5 minutes later, the trade completely reverses. It's at 40%, and you could have really used that play and those profits. And now you're feeling bad because now you let your emotions get the best of you. You stopped out early and you didn't follow your rule of a 20% stop loss. And then you have to essentially miss out on really good money. And what would have been a W is now a loss, right? So this is why following your rules is so important. At the end of the day, we're humans. We're going to feel the emotion. It's going to happen. There's nothing you can do to avoid feeling the emotion. But at the end of the day, you have to have an action plan as to what you're going to do when you feel the emotions, right? And having it written down gives us a really clear, concise idea of what to do and what rules to follow because they're right in front of us. And if you're a trader, you should 100% have your trading rules right in front of you. Okay. Because if not, there's going to be one alternative, which is going to be you're going to wing it and you're going to wing it, and your actions are going to be based on the way you would react to any other stimuli in other real life. The thing about trading, guys, is we react like it's going to hurt us. Obviously, we're going to lose money at the end of the day, but we have to be very, very what's the right word for this? Um, I can't think of the right word to say this. We have to be able to pay attention to um, the emotions that we're going to feel at the end of the day and treat it essentially kind of like a game where we play a game based on the probabilities. And yes, you are going to feel the emotions, but you're going to essentially follow the game plan because you know that the rules that you have allow you to win the game of probabilities. Okay. I know I just got through a bunch of information very quickly. Do you guys have any questions in regards to the part I just went over? Okay, let's go ahead and actually write out these rules for you guys. So, a daily goal, okay? I think this one's really important to talk about. It must be reasonable, okay? It must be reachable as well, right? It must be realistic. And what I mean by that, guys, reasonable and realistic. Okay, what I mean by that is if you have a $5,000 account, I think on a daily basis, I think 10% is more or less reasonable, right? That's to make $500 with $5,000. I think that's achievable. It might not be easy, but I think it is definitely achievable on a daily basis. Okay. And that's something that you have to understand. Like most people get confused when it comes to a daily goal because they feel like a daily goal is something that will keep them level, but they also don't understand that a daily goal is not a number where you should keep trading until you hit that number, right? It should only be a metric used that in let's just say in one trade you hit 2 times your daily goal, you're done trading. There should be no reason for you to even touch, the trading platform at that point. But instead, the thing that jades us is that we're focused on using a daily goal as a metric as to how long we have to trade in a given day in order to reach that number. But it can't be looked at like in that way. The way you have to actually look at this, guys, is you have to look at it as a metric that you use to prevent you from over trading after you've made money quicker than you've expected to. That's how you got to use a daily goal. Okay. And so there's going to be times, guys, you're not going to hit your daily goal. You might hit half of it, or you might even be literally at $0 or $10 for the day, and you're used to making 1,000, right? But once you can start getting okay with these, break even days and small days, you're gonna come find out end of the month what would have essentially been a red day from over trading, right? Those every time you keep 200 bucks at break even, and let me describe this. Sorry, I just jumped into it really quickly. Let's say that normally you would have lost $300 if you kept trading, but instead, after 4 trades, 3 trades, you see $12 and you realize, today's kind of just a shit day. And everything looked good, but it chopped. I'll just leave it at here. So instead of losing $300, you keep that $300. Imagine if you had 6 of those days in a month, right? Where instead of losing 300 bucks, you just take $12, right? You're gonna at the end of the month, you're gonna have 1,800 extra dollars in your account by doing it this way. And you know what? You're gonna actually find out that most of the days are not gonna break even. They may be $300, $400, $200, right? They're gonna be all over the place depending on you as a trader. But that's the thing, is that we as traders don't even think about how beneficial break-even days are. So if you're essentially having a lot more red days, your only goal in the beginning it should be to only have break-even days right now. Because at least at that point, you've evolved from losing money to now you can't necessarily make it, but you're not losing it anymore, right? So you have to be very strategic. Okay, this is one of my favorite rules in a sense. I don't know, it's not necessarily a specific rule, but the general, I guess, rule for this one, guys, when it comes to the daily goal, is to use it as a metric to stop trading should you make that money a lot quicker than you expected to. Okay, never use a daily goal as a metric where you need to keep trading all day until you hit that number. Ideally, you want to find the number of trades that you're averaging on a given day, and use that number and essentially figure out your buying power and then divide those two, and that's how you're going to get your position sizing. Okay, so let me go ahead and write this out. And this is the one rule that keeps us grounded, guys, because um, a lot of the times what happens when you make your daily goal a lot quicker than you expected to, you usually get back your money because you're kind of on an emotional high. You'll make mistakes that you normally wouldn't make, really because you're on cloud nine and just, enjoying the fact that you made money so quickly and now you have this nice cushion. But that's where you have to be the most careful. So that's why you really want to use the daily goal in this way, where you use it as a metric to where, oh my God, I've made double my daily goal. I need to essentially, calm down, walk away, or, close my trading platform at that point if that's what it needs to be. All right, guys, any questions? Yeah, Fusion. Like if you decide to continue to trade in that scenario, the worst thing that you should do is to essentially end up at zero. So you should position size then at that point where you're up 150 and you're only willing to give that up. And just being strategic like that, you'll end up saving a lot more money where, what would have been a red day, you're just saving it at break even. But for me personally, I've come to realize that 10% is more or less a realistic goal. I think that's more than able to be done. And sometimes I take only 5%. It happens, right? Not every day is like 10% daily goal, metric. But the more and more that I'm okay with smaller, days and more break-even days, I've actually come to realize that the faster the money comes in, because then I'm not trying to force making that money. Whenever you try to force money out of the markets, usually the market just really takes it from you, right? But when we actually are patient and we wait for the right place to come to us and not be so jumpy into everything, when we take our time with our plays, the market's really rewarding to us. And that's where we have to be as traders, right? We want where the money is essentially effortlessly being made. The highest I've come to find out, I get it's like a universal rule. The harder you try to make money in the stock market, the slower it actually comes. The more patient you are and the more that you wait and just let it come to you, the more money that you make. It sounds like it is the statement itself is very ironic, but it's true. It's kind of like some inverse law, but it's something that I would say that I've known for quite some time now. Um, that the slower you try to make money, the more patient you are. With your consistent position sizing, never averaging down, things like that. The faster that the money actually comes, right? Because when you average down, you might make money on that one time, right? Where you average down, contracts come back, but if you have a habit of bag holding, what's most likely going to happen is you're going to average down multiple times because it's always worked for you, and lose a significant amount of money at that point from just averaging down on a losing play. And the concept of an averaging down, it does work if you are strategic about it. But for most new people, they are essentially going to lose money because at that point they're averaging down because they don't want to accept they lost. They'd rather just put more money down on it, even if it is a losing play that doesn't look like it's going to recover, right? So yeah. All right, rule number 5. Let's see. Okay, it's really important to know your exit prior to the entry. And what I mean by that, guys, is um it's important as a trader to know what percentage you're going to essentially cut at. Um, and simply the way you're going to do that is just to have, a 20% stop loss, whatever it may be. But it's always good, even though this sounds so very simple and obvious, it's, something that you want to make very obvious in front of you, because there are times where we get confused or we decide to, uh, you know, um, what's the word? Uh, like, straight from the trading plan. So when it's in front of you and you have it written down that, okay, my stop loss is specifically going to be 20%, you're gonna actually stick to that rule much more, and you're gonna be less likely to make decisions like, for example, where you cut at 12 or 15% just because you don't want to take a full 20% loss, and come find out the trade reverses and you would have actually made money had you followed your rule, a very simple rule that all of us are probably aware of, but we've never actually written it down. So it's just as simple as writing it down, knowing, okay, doesn't matter. I'm just gonna lose 20%. That's how I'm going to move forward with my trading moving forward, right? Because you don't want situations where you just cut early and you screw yourself out of a good trade simply because you just thought -12 was better than -20. You need to define your stop loss before and be aware of it so that whatever happens within that given trade, you follow the rules of your stop loss and then go. Obviously, it's different, guys, to have a break-even trade if the trade actually goes into profit, right? If it goes up, 15, 20%, you never want to lose money on that contract, right? But when it comes to the other side of the stop loss, you want to give yourself a chance for the trade to actually make you money. There's going to be times, guys, where it's going to go -19, -18, -17, 16, 15, right? And then reverse and go into profits. That's the whole point of defining your loss. And then at the same time, too, right? That's why we position size correctly based on our account size. So that if we lose 20%, it's an amount that we're okay with and that we're not going to stress over should we take a loss on that trade. So I know that one's very obvious, guys, but it's very important to have a defined stop loss. Oops. There we go. I think this is a really important one. This one kind of follows the daily goal that we talked about on number 4, but this one's really important as well. It's no over trading. And I know that it's very tempting to sit here all day and trade, and I think the general logic that all of us have when it comes to making money is usually the more time you put in, the more money you make. But when it comes to trading, that's not necessarily the way it works. Trading is kind of like you know waiting for the perfect moment to essentially strike and take money from the market. So you're essentially taking money from the market, right? And I guess the way I look at it is just like in a heist. Don't worry, guys. I'm not a I'm not a robber, but just like in a heist, right? You're going to wait for the right moment to strike to get your money, right? You don't just go and attempt it all day long and try to make your money and then hope that eventually one of those tries will work because you're trying all day and you're putting in your effort, right? At the end of the day, you have to wait for the right moment to strike to get your money, and it's the same way in the stock market. 95% of the time you're just waiting for your entry, and then our trades are what, 5-10 minutes at most, right? So you guys got to understand that over trading is something that's can be very detrimental to your trading. Um, if you're not aware of it, you'll sit here and trade all day. And here's the thing, guys, if you make your money, there's no reason you should be sitting here and trading. You can sit there and enjoy the chat, but you shouldn't be trading because you'll come to find that it's only in your advantage and your favor for you to secure that money if that's some amount that is, something that your ideal daily goal. um and I think that comes down to us realizing how much money is that we're making. I think we get jaded at times and forget that like even $300 in 10 minutes is a significant amount of money. A significant amount of money. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but even at my day job, I think I was barely covering like 260 for 8 hours of work, right? So the fact that I can make 300 bucks in 3 minutes, on an opening scalp, I mean, that really shifted my perspective as to how much money that actually is, right? And that's where you have to get to, because the more that you're okay with, smaller numbers like 300 to 500, the more money that you'll actually make, right? I know we think in our heads that, okay, if we have a daily goal of 1,000, I want to hit 1,000 every day in a perfect world, right? It's really hard to do for some people. for most of us, to be honest, right? But if you um, kind of take a step back and have a daily goal, more realistic daily goal of, let's just say, $300 to $500, you'll be very, very surprised as to how fast the money actually comes. Even 5 days at $300 for that week, that's $1,500. That's $6,000 a month, $72,000 a year. You're making this in probably about 10 minutes a day of work. Maybe let's just say 30, whatever, right? Just when you get up early, prepare. Let's just say 30 minutes, right? You're at $72,000 making $300 a day in the stock market, and you're only trading for maybe 30 minutes a day, right? Put that into perspective. And then also think about it like this: when you double that number, which is only 600 bucks a month, or sorry, a day, 600 bucks a day, right? That's $140,000 in a year. Like, you really have to open up your perspective as to how the numbers work when it comes to the stock market. Um, And so that's all. I think that's a really important concept to pay attention to and be aware of when it comes to the way you think about your money, and how much you need to make, right? It's really, I would say, pretty easy to make to $300 to $500, but it's really, really hard to make $1,000 consistently, based on your account size, obviously. Then, for other people, that number is nothing, but based on your account size, for most people, it's just much easier for you guys to make anywhere from 2 to 500 a day instead of $1,000 a day. And you'll come to find out that the money actually stacks faster should you just take 3 to 500 a day than actually aiming for $1,000 every day. It's like that inverse universal law I was telling you guys. For some reason, when you try to take $1,000, the money doesn't come as fast as when you just take 3 to 500 consistently. Okay, because the more that you're essentially making, usually what's going to happen is that's probably means that you're sizing in heavier, and your losses on your losing day are also going to be bigger, versus when you just trade consistently, you have your consistent position sizing. You're going to have days $100, $50, $500, maybe you'll get $1,000 day, so in there every once in a while. But you come to find out that you'll become a lot more consistent, aiming for a realistic daily goal, um, and then being able to walk away and not overtrade, right? So all these rules essentially work in harmony with each other, but all these rules need each other to be used or utilized in order to be effective, okay? Because they essentially have an effect where if you follow one rule, you'll start to follow all the other rules, right? Because you understand that the rules are written only in your favor, nobody else's. And I think a lot of us forget that, right? The rules are there to only benefit us. Okay, if we ignore the rules, we are the only people, and um that suffer from it. Essentially, we're the ones that take lose money because we didn't follow our rules. Okay, so any questions, guys? Sweet. So I would say when it comes to having a trading plan, you want to get all the things written out. You can kind of go down this list and write out a trading plan for yourself as well. In our Discord, we have something that you guys can go through as far as the trading plan, and kind of copy that and make one for yourselves. But you can also make one from this Word document here, right? Figure out number one, what's your position sizing? Have that written down so you're aware, right? Make sure that the position sizing is perfect for your account size, right? And then you're going to find your daily goal. You're going to make it a reasonable daily goal. I feel like 10% is fair. I think an even more reasonable goal is about 5% of your daily goal, of your total buying power. And you have to know how to use the daily goal, right? You got to be aware of using a daily goal as a metric to stop trading so that you don't overtrade and give your money back, right? But at the same time too, it should never be a metric where you have to keep trading, sit there all day and keep trading until you hit $1,000, because if there's not an opportunity to make money, we're probably going to force it trying to get to $1,000 just because we'd want to see kind of that 4-digit, number of gains. And instead, right, it ends up, where we're at 700 and we give back maybe, 400 to 600 of it because we wanted to hit $1,000, right? So you want to make sure that you use the daily goal in the right way to your benefit, and that's by using it as a metric to stop trading, not as a metric to keep trading. All right. Number 5, know your exit prior to the entry. At the end of the day, you want a position size with a number that if you lose that trade, you're going to be okay with the loss. If you're going to not be okay with how much money you lose on that trade, it's more or less going to be because you're sized in too heavy on that trade, right? If you're sized in at a position size that you're personally comfortable with, you're not going to feel bad when you lose that money because it's a number that you've already defined is something that you're okay with, right? For me, I think I can lose about right now like $1,000 in a given trade and it won't really affect me, right? I can at least make it back on the next trade. Reason being is that's only 20% of a $5,000 position size. But for somebody else, that number may not be very comfortable for them, right? So you're gonna have to find that what works for you, right? And then there's other people where $1,000 loss is nothing to them, right? I personally don't want to lose more than that, but there's people in our chat that literally they can lose $10,000 in one trade and it doesn't affect them because their account is so big, right? But let's be real, that's not most of us, right? Most of us are probably like under 50,000 for the most part. So that's why I would say, guys, you guys got to be aware of your position sizing. Make sure you have a defined position sizing, and then daily goals must be realistic. Know your stop loss and follow that to the T so that you can take advantage of all the trades. Nothing's worse than exiting a trade early, even if you lose less money on it, because you got out too early, and if you gave it just one more minute, it would have reversed and gone into profit, right? So these are all really important rules that are essentially obvious, and you would think, oh, like we all already know that. But if you don't have it written down as a trader, your mind is going to wander and essentially wing it. When you have a trading plan written and printed and essentially right in front of you, if you have it written out in front of you, you'll know exactly what to do even when you're essentially dealing with the stress. You look down and your rules tell you, okay, do this because this is what the rules state, right? And at the end of the day, right, when we get emotional, we want to just react based on the emotions that we're feeling and our instincts, but we have to follow the rules because the rules at the end of the day are written to give us an advantage, to make us money. These rules aren't written for us to lose money. Every rule that we've given you in regards to a trading plan, risk management, position sizing is all to give you an advantage as to become, consistently profitable. And that's the way you have to look at rules. Obviously, rules are boring. None of us, really like to follow rules. But the stricter you can be as a trader and follow rules and be, very strict in your trading plan and not deviate from your trading plan, the better off that you'll do as a trader. I think a lot of, successful traders that are in here can attest to that. All right, guys, any questions? Cool. So I'm just gonna go over if and then statements very quickly before we got about 7 more minutes here. All right, and these are something that you should also have written down in regards Okay, these are called if and then statements, all right? If and then statements are very, very important, guys, because they tell you what your action you're going to take in each scenario as far as what happens, okay? So the way that it goes is if this happens, then I will do this, okay? And so let me give you guys an example here. If the trade goes to minus 20%, I will close the position, okay? If the so in this scenario, it points out what the scenario is and what action you will take specifically when that time happens. Okay, so if the trade goes to 15% and then reverses back to 0, well, then I will cut the position at break even. Okay. The really neat thing about these if and then statements is it points out a very, very specific scenario, and then the statement that comes after is the specific plan of action that you're going to take when that scenario arrives. So when push comes to shove, you're in a trade, things are going on. When you read your if and then statement, you know exactly what action to take when that thing happens, when that event happens, right? So that way, the more that you are aware of what action to take, the faster you'll take action because you know what to do versus, sometimes we freeze because we don't know what to do. So it's very important for us to define and identify first and then define what the if and then statements will be, right? So you have to identify the situations that could possibly arise as a trader, which is that the trade goes to 15%, the trade goes to 30%, trade goes to 45, the trade goes to 60%, 100%, and then write the defined action that you're going to take. So I'll kind of write out a few that I kind of follow, okay. Right now, if the trade goes to 15 to 20%, I will trim a quarter of the position and hold the rest at break even. Okay. This, if you guys can see, this is a very, very specific if and then statement. It allows me to know exactly what to do without hesitation when this scenario arrives. And this scenario is going to arrive more than more than likely like in almost every single trade that we take. Hopefully it goes to, well, ideally, but no. This scenario is going to arise a lot for us as scout traders, right? That a trade's going to go to 15 to 20%. So we want to know what actions that we're going to take specifically when it comes to our trade and what we're going to do, right? This tells me exactly how much I'm going to trim of my position and then how much I'm going to hold. All right. Right now, guys, I'll trim anywhere from a quarter to half of my position at 15 to 20%. It really depends. On Thursdays, Fridays, I'll hold it a little bit longer because obviously we can get more than 30, 40, 50% off of a contract, right? But on Mondays, I'm probably going to secure 90% of my position at 20% because those contracts are just not going to move as much should it, compared to a 0 days contract or a 1 day expiration SPY contract, right? So with that said, you want to have specifics written down, guys. So here's another example. If the trade goes to 40%, I will trim 90% of the position and hold a few runners. All right. Now this paints a different scenario than this one, right? And then it says exactly how much of my position I'll trim at that point. So then I'll trim whatever I have from, the 25 that I already cut initially at 15 to 20%, and then I'll essentially cut the rest at 40%, probably secure me somewhere around 33%, something like that after I trim the full amount, maybe 35. And then we have our runners to hold, and we hold our runners at break even. And you're going to actually come to find out that the runners actually are very, very beneficial because you can just hold them at break even and let them run, Obviously, right now in the last month, there hasn't been much continuation. So if you guys notice, I will take my profits personally. Like most of the time, I'll let it run right after we trim 90%. But if it doesn't really get anywhere, I just cut it. And it's because I like to sell into strength, honestly. All right, guys. So you need to define all of these, okay? You want to define exactly what you're going to do in each of these scenarios so that you know which action to take when it comes to that scenario that happens in the given trade, right? Without this, guys, you're going to wing it. You always want to make sure that you know what to do when it comes to this, all right? If you can even make things like this, right? If I make $500 in the first trade, I will walk I will get up and walk away immediately, right? And this might be something that's going to help you because some people they have the tendency as soon as they make a lot of money, they get on an emotional high and give it back literally in the next 2 minutes by just jumping into another trade that doesn't have a legitimate valid entry showing, right? And so this might be something that might benefit you where you just walk away and you get to reset your head and get back and start and maybe only be willing to give up $100 of that 500 if you want to essentially take another trade and possibly get to 700. All right, guys, this is it that I have for the first class this week. Um, I'll be doing these weekly. I'm going to go over all these different things to help you guys to become better traders. At the end of the day, I personally really want to help you guys become more consistent. And, a lot of us always think that it has to do with the charts. How can we see the charts better to make money? But a lot of the ways that you're going to make money as a trader and be consistent is really the way you think and look at money, right? And my goal from these classes is to help you guys to see the way that I view money, because I like to make trading very, very non-emotional and fun, right? When you make trading very difficult and you make it this thing where you put it on a pedestal and you make it really hard, it becomes very difficult and it puts a lot of pressure on you to perform. When you make trading fun, right? You're more patient, you take your time, right? You enjoy trading and you're able to see things clear because you're not jaded by the pressure of having to essentially, make money in a sense. So, this is the first class, but essentially I'll be doing one every week moving forward, and we'll be switching up the subjects too as well. Um, and yeah, market is closed on Monday. You guys have a wonderful weekend. I will see you guys on Tuesday, and I'll upload this to our Discord as soon as it's done rendering. All right, guys. Have a good one.